Everyone, it's Miss A and I'm back with some math strategy videos. We are still working on our division. And we will be working with partial quotients today. A partial quotient is subtracting out chunks or multiples of your divisor. So for example, if I have my divisor is 7 and I wanted to subtract out chunks from my dividend, a chunk would be like 7 times 10, which I would subtract out 70. That means that I've used my 7 10 times. I could also do 7 times 20. And that's 140. Now, these are really simple multiplication tables that most kids in the 4th grade should know. We all know 7 times 1, it's 7, add a 0. We all know 7 times 2, it's 14 because that's doubles. Kids learn doubles from 1st grade on. That's 14 and add a 0. So what they're doing essentially is subtracting out large chunks of multiples and getting you down to the smallest amount that you can get to. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. If I have 319 divided by, I'm going to go with 8. So you can think of multiplication tables, your multiples of 8 that you know. I usually stick with like 8 times 10, 8 times 2, 8 times 5. Those are all ones that kids tend to know. So, and you can write them down if you want. You don't have to, but it is helpful when you're trying to hurry up and get something done. So 8 times 2 is 16. And remember, you can use multiples of that. I could use 8 times 10, which is 80. 8 times 2, which is 160. Let me go ahead and put 8 times 5. These are all multiplication tables that kids either know by heart or can gather very easily. They know how to count by their 5s. They know their doubles. And obviously, they know their 1s tables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract out chunks of my multiples of my 8s from my dividend. Okay, this is the number that I'm dividing into. And now I can look at this and I see that this gives me 16. If I were to add a 0 to that, that would be using 8 20 times, and that would be 160. So I'm going to start with that because you want to subtract out the biggest chunks that you can. And over here on the side, I'm going to write down how many times I used that 8. Which was 20 times, because 8 times 20 is 160. And now I'm going to subtract, and I obviously have to regroup because I can't take 6 away from 1. I'm regrouping. That gives me 11. 11 minus 6 is 5. 2 minus 1 is 1. Now I can't do another 160 because I only have 159 left, but I can do 80. That's another big chunk that I can subtract out, and that would be 8 times 10. So I'm going to put the 10 here, circle it. That lets me know so far I have used my 8 20 times here, and I used it 10 times here, and together I've used it 30 times. I'm going to subtract out. 9 minus 0 is 9. I have to regroup, can't take 8 away from 5, so that becomes a 15, and that's a 0. 15 minus 8, and if you don't know what that is, think of your doubles minus 1. 8 plus 8 is 16, minus 1 is 15, so we're talking about 7. So I have 79 left over. Now I can pull out different chunks. Now, boys and girls, you can think of yourself, what times 8 gets me closest to 79 without going over. The problem is with that is you really have to be strong in your multiplication tables. And this strategy is to allow children who aren't necessarily strong in their multiplication tables still have success with division. So what I can start to do is I can subtract out 16, which I do know. Let's do 16. And that is 8 times 2, so I'm putting my 2 there. 9 minus 6 is 3. 7 minus 1 is 6. I can subtract out 40. Because I know 8 times 5, so let me do that. And I put 5 over here because I used my 8 5 times. Let me subtract out that. 3 minus 0 is 3. 6 minus 4 is 2. And now I'm back to 16. And here I would have to regroup. That's 13. That's 1. 13 minus 6 is 7. 1 minus 1 is 0. So I have 7 left over. My divisor's 8, so I know that that is my remainder. 7. And then I just add how many times I used my 8. I used it, here's 120, I used it 20 times. or 160, I used it 20 times. Here's 80, I used it 10 times. Here's 16, I used it 2 times. Here's 40, I used it 5 times. Here's 16, I used it 2 times. So 20 plus 10 is 30, plus 2 more is 32, plus 2 more is 34, plus 5 more is 39. So it takes division, which is really a multiplication opposite operation, and you've turned it into just a little bit of multiplication, which you should be strong in, these you should be strong in, and subtraction and adding. Now I'm going to show you another way that helps children see this particular type of strategy. So here I have a T-chart. And on my T-chart, let me place that in the middle there, my divisor or dividend goes here. Dividend is the total number you're separating, and then multiples of my divisor go here. Go on this side. So my dividend is 319. And I'm looking at my eights tables. All right, so I start with 319 here, and this will be my running subtraction row. I'll be subtracting until I get as low or as close to 0 as I can, and obviously I have to have less than 8. And here's where I'll write my running multiplication tables. So I'm going to start off with 8 times 20, because I know 8 times 2 is 16. You could even put an equal sign there if that helps you remember. And then you subtract. 9 minus 0 is 9. Regroup. 159. Again, I can't take out another 160 because this is less than, but I can do 8 times 10. And that equals 80. And I subtract that away. So I'm writing my multiplication tables here. I'm doing my subtraction here. I'm just keeping a running log. I have to regroup. 79. I can't take out 80. So I can, at this point, if I didn't know 8 times 2 was 16, or if I didn't know 8 times 5 was 40, I could actually just start taking out 8 times 1. So let me show you what that would look like. And I could do that, and it would take a little bit longer, but it is possible to do. And you would arrive at the right answer. I'm just going to show you one, and I could keep going until I got as close to 0 as possible. But I am going to do 8 times 5 because most kids know their 5's tables, or at least can count by 5 and can figure that out pretty quickly. And that's 40, so that's a 1, and that's 31. Can't take out another 40, but I do know that 8 times 2 is 16, so let me do that. Regrouping. 11 minus 6 is 5. 2 minus 1 is 1. Can't do another 16, but I can take out a 1. 8 times 1 is 8. And 15 minus 8 is 7. All right, so what I have left over is my remainder, which is right there. So it's remainder. This is my remainder right here. And then what I do is I add all of everything that was times 8, I add those numbers together. So you can draw a circle around it if it helps you and just add them together. And 20 plus 10 is 30, plus 1 is 31, plus 5 is 36, plus, oops, that was times 2. See, look, I made a mistake there, kids. That should be times 2, plus 2 is 38, plus 1 more is 39, 39, remainder 7. So this is the running record. I'm glad I caught that mistake there. This is the running record on your 8's tables, how many times you used them. This is your subtraction. What you get in your subtraction row is your remainder. What you get in your 8's tables tells you your quotient. So it's 2 ways to see this, and this is a division strategy which allows children to have success even if they aren't completely confident in their multiplication tables, because it only uses the ones that they know. And they all know their 1's tables. Most of them know their 2's tables, or at least know their doubles. And most of them can count by 5. So those are very good starting points, and it does give this children success.